The trend of remakes and remasters of old but successful games is one that has been around for a decent amount of time. The earliest remakes I remember playing were Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. Both released on the GameCube, so hardly anyone played them, but they were great homages to the originals. Now fast forward to today, where remakes are becoming more and more common, with great examples like Final Fantasy VII, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 4. Side note, if you haven't played Resident Evil 4 Remake at this point, please do yourself a favor and take a couple days off work, install the Leon Tramp Stamp mod, and have yourself a grand old time. Because we don't really get games like this too often. But like all great things, there's a dark, greedy, Star Wars sequel-esque side of this trend. The appeal of remaking and remastering and re-releasing old games can be attributed to one thing, and that's, well, we're getting old. The average age of a hot and crisp gamer is going up. As that age goes up, the more we want that ratatouille moment of getting a blast from the past. And now that we have adult money, we're willing to spend it on our inner neglected child. We can't buy homes, so what else are we going to spend that hero pay on? I'm as guilty of this as anyone else. I've bought every Resident Evil from Resident Evil 0 to Resident Evil 6 at least 3 times. I've even been seduced by the Todd Howard devil, and I've bought Skyrim a couple times too. Like every millennial hitting their 30s, I'm addicted to that sweet hit of nostalgia. And remakes deal out those hits with updated graphics, new mechanics, new levels, and usually a more cohesive story, effectively giving us that ratatouille, that's so Raven dopamine hit. So what makes a successful remake? Much like rebooting Spider-Man movies, or really rebooting any movie at this point, is all about finding the right balance between nostalgia and innovation. The game should feel familiar enough that the fans of the original will feel like at home. Like when you go back to your old high school, but it has some new lockers, so it feels new as you walk through. But they also swap the art room with the biology room. There's that weird pressure in your head that tells you something's a little off, but it still has all the parts to still be the same high school. So it feels fresh and exciting. Is this comparison working for you? If it is, let me know down in the comments. If it didn't, well, I'm sure you'll tell me anyways.
Ready? Smile.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a few great examples of fantastic remakes are Final Fantasy VII, Dead Space, and Capcom's Resident Evil remakes. These games capture a lot of what made the originals great, while adding a new take on the game system and the story. The developers took great care to ensure these games would appeal to fans of the original and newcomers alike. On the other hand, some remakes and remasters just feel like cash grabs, especially remasters, which are mostly just graphical updates and maybe some quality of life changes. These games add little to no new content, or even remove what was in the original, like with Halo 2 and all the fun glitches that game had in the original had to be patched in a later update. These remasters rely on nostalgia to sell copies. Personally, I'm afraid game devs will continue to follow this trend. We're going to end up with less inspired and innovative remasters that look or play like they were just glued together. Like with the PC port of The Last of Us. Like, how does Iron Galaxy do such an amazing job with Metroid Prime, and then absolutely fumble it with The Last of Us PC port? And after they delayed it for a month to promise its fans that it was going to live up to the original. I just don't want to end up in a Doctor Strange multiverse of madness reality where we are just playing copies and copies and copies of our favorite games. At the end of the day, game studios are a company, and they want to make money. So there's little risk in just remastering an old hit of a game than is to take a chance on a new IP. Which is understandable. The people that made Forspoken got their studio shut down, despite the game being kinda alright. Which, side note, I think the whole Forspoken hate train is a great example of the risk developers take in showing off their game early. And also the horrible vortex a game can drown in with the air quotes influencer economy. Anyways, unfortunately the low-hanging fruit of remasters could lead to a stagnation of creativity. Like with the current iteration of Reboot of Duty, where they drip feed old fan favorite guns and maps to keep players coming back, there's an obvious lack of new ideas in the industry, which we are clearly seeing. We have premium priced games packaged with battle passes and season passes. We have copy and paste battle royales, predatory monetization, and games releasing a sequel without the content that makes it a sequel. Like I said, everything is eventually going to become. However, when done right, remakes and remasters can provide a way for devs to reintroduce a classic game to the current generation of players, who've probably missed out on them the first time around. This helps keep these games relevant and increase interest of that IP for future titles. The best examples of this being Metroid Prime and Dead Space. EA effectively killed Visceral and the series as a whole after putting Dead Space 3 through development hell. But now that Dead Space got a remake and everyone loves how great of a job they did on that game, Dead Space is relevant again. And with Metroid Prime, well, the jury's still out. I think the trend of remakes and remasters is here to stay. For better or for worse. They can be great for satisfying nostalgic cravings of us aging gamers, while also introducing classic games to the Fortnite Battle Pass generation of players. And for me, remakes and remasters are great. I get to play old games that I don't really have the ability to play anymore because who owns a CRT still? And getting to experience these old games I love for the first time again is something truly special. But I think we, as aging gamers, need to accept is all those special first moments we had with these special games, we can never have again. We're never going to go on an adventure with Donald and Goofy, we're never going to storm the beach on Halo, or we're never going to save Ellie from the Fireflies for the first time again. And that's okay. Trust me, it's okay. Because it leaves room for the remakes to give us new moments in a game that is excitingly new and comfortably familiar. When done right, like dreamy-eyed Todd Howard walking in front of a green screen every 3 years to sell Skyrim, remakes and remasters can keep old games relevant for years, keeping those great titles relevant rather than a footnote to what is modern gaming. Ultimately, the success of such projects relies on the effort and care developers put into these products. We should continue to support the devs that put as much love into these games as we do when we spend our money on them. If they don't put the effort and care into the remakes of games we love, well, they saw what Twitter did to Forspoken.